Hey, welcome to a first episode, I guess, of this thing that I'm doing. I'm not going to be addressing the art that's on the screen. That's for you guys to enjoy if you want to see my process. But if you do struggle with like anxiety, depression, fear of failure, procrastination with your art, any kind of like mental and mind issue that's blocking you from making the best art or the best drawing, the best day, anything. If you struggle with that, then I really suggest that you stick around and hang out with me while I tell you, or not tell you, like I just kind of share what I'm learning or stuff about that. And also, I'm going to be talking about why I'm doing this in the first place. So in all my time in YouTube, like creating YouTube videos, I've never really introduced myself as a person and as a creator. So hi, I'm Katie. I was born and raised in Indonesia to an Indonesian mother and an American father. But I am a US citizen, so I then went to college in the States, and right now, I guess either one is considered home for me. But pretty much all of my life, I've really struggled with just the shit that's in my head. I've really struggled with like worrying about what other people think, fear of failure, pretty much everything that I've mentioned at the start. Anxiety, depression. I became a lot more aware of it once I left the nest, like I left Indonesia and went to the States and had to be on my own. That's when things really started to make sense. Not make sense, actually, no. That's when I started to become more aware of all these issues and understanding that there were some patterns and things that I wasn't happy with. And so in the past, I've read a few self-help books. I found a few. I really can't name that many. I think there's things like Steal Like an Artist, if you've ever heard of that book. That's not self-help in the sense of like, it wouldn't be in the self-help aisle. It would be in the artist or in the art aisle in the bookstore. But it does have to do with more about your mindset when you're creating art. So there's Steal Like an Artist, there's Art and Fear, and then there's things like Brene Brown's work, which is like Daring Greatly. If you haven't seen her TED Talk, Power of Vulnerability, I think it's the second most watched TED Talk right now with 25 million views. It is an incredible, incredible TED Talk. So if you're super geeky like me about personal development and the mind and feelings and all that stuff, I'd really definitely recommend checking it out. Anything that I mention, I'll put in the description so you can just go check it out. I read some of her books and they really made me feel amazing while I was reading it, because I was like, oh shit, I'm not alone. Somebody else understands what's going on. It was really good afterwards as well. But I always just kind of felt like nothing changed. Like it was just really feel goody at the time, and then I would feel quite disappointed afterwards. And I started to believe that all of this stuff was bullshit, that all of this stuff was just kind of like people just kind of making money writing these books that make you feel good in the moment, but it doesn't really, you're just back to you. I've gone to therapy in the past, only 2 sessions, I think, or maybe 3. So I didn't give it a full, try and go ahead, but there was just something about therapy to me that just didn't really make sense with what I was thinking. Like right now, my perception of therapy is about you talking about your problems and feelings with somebody, which again feels good at the time, but it didn't feel like there was going to be some lasting change. Because you hear about some people who have therapists for like 15 years up to, or like more, or just have therapists throughout their life, which again is totally fine if that's what you need to help yourself, like, but there was something about that to me that I was like, I want to learn to have the confidence to take care of myself, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, like I got pretty disappointed with self-help books, and I was thinking like, all right, maybe this stuff is just woo-woo kind of bullshit. You have to be like a hippie or a yogi to really get into this stuff. So I ended up just stopping reading altogether. I used to love fiction books too, but I just ended up kind of like avoiding that stuff because I didn't want to be disappointed again. But recently, I feel really lucky though that I found one teacher that I think really kind of figured out how to express and explain this stuff in a way that really, really makes sense to me. And she's just one piece of the puzzle. Like I think different teachers give you different things, and you kind of like piece everything together to make sense in your own head and in your own life. By the way, this all has to do with art in some way. I think everything that you do kind of affects different parts of your life. Yeah, I will tie this back to art in some way, guys. But I do think that like if you struggle with this, there's some struggle in other parts too. And I see this as a really holistic kind of practice, I guess, or like all this stuff affects everything pretty much. Anyway, so I found this teacher, Brooke Castillo. She has a podcast called The Life Coach School. I've already mentioned this in the first 2 videos that I made since I've come back. And her philosophy about teaching is like, she really talks about how, she talks about how there's feelings that are useful and feelings that are not useful. And I think like the way that she tries to explain things, I think she really does think about what's the most useful way to explain something. Because the amount of times that I've looked up on Google how to be more confident, I mean, it's kind of embarrassing how many times. And the blog posts or articles that I see, a lot of it is like, you just have to be confident, or you just have to do it and then you'll be confident, or you just have to take action, or something's like, you got to step back, like there was so much vague advice. And again, I think maybe things that feel good in the moment, but it just like, it always falls flat for me. And some things just, yeah. And again, like I just got so jaded about that stuff. But even though I was jaded, like I always came back to it, right? Because I would have something happen that just made me feel so like disempowered. And the only thing you can do at the time is kind of like look up, at least for me, is like, how do I get out of this? How do I stop feeling like this? And so even though I was kind of at a point where I was like, all right, then maybe this key to happiness or whatever, the key to being a successful is just to stop searching, like stop looking, stop Googling how to fix yourself. And maybe you just have to accept whatever is going on. You just got to accept your misery, accept, quote unquote, accept who you are. Again, like vague ass bullshit, and just make do, I guess. So I was like, all right, maybe I have to stop searching, but I couldn't. It's just every time like something was happening, some spiral was going on in my head. The only thing I could think of to do to help myself is to look up, to find a book or whatever, and see like what can help me. Maybe someone can teach me something. So I didn't Google something and found this teacher's work. I found her through another YouTuber that also struggles with anxiety, depression, and stuff. So I think this world is amazing that we're sharing our struggles with each other and sharing information. And so I found her podcast through that YouTuber. Her name is Cheyenne Barton. Again, I will link her. She's awesome, guys. Seriously, this is so cool. I just think this is so cool. Anyway, so I found this teacher, and then through her, I feel like I was able to, I mean, I'm still working on it, but like through her, I was able to like see other advice, like where it fits in with each other. She was kind of like this missing link for me, I think, about how different things work or things like that, how your mind works essentially. And so with that, I'm like on this mission now to work on myself. I'm on this mission to better myself, to find a way to be more confident, to deal with my negative emotions better, like all of this. Like I'm on a freaking mission, and I've always loved self-help, and I've always loved that stuff, but I didn't really have anyone to geek out over it, and also I was really nervous about what people would think about me. Like if I was into it, I thought like maybe that means they'll think something's wrong with me, or that I'm gullible, that this stuff is stupid, that only like stupid people believe in this stuff. Yeah, like I was kind of hiding my like for it. And then also when I wasn't getting any return, like I wasn't getting any changes in my life, I was like, all right, maybe this stuff is bullshit. Like I don't really want to advertise that I'm into this stuff. But the dam has broken. I'm so excited about this stuff. I'm telling you, I'm on a mission. Like this is the year. I mean, it's a lifelong thing, but this is the year that I've fully accepted like my love for self-improvement, personal development. Yeah. And so one of the things that Brooke Castillo she was telling her story about how she got into this whole thing of like, she's a life coach primarily, and how she got into being a life coach. And she was saying that like she started out as a weight coach, so she really struggled with her weight when she was young, and it had to do with emotional eating and eating to make yourself feel better because you don't want to deal with negative emotion. Anyway, so she was saying how like when she was younger and she was like at her worst weight, she was thinking like, you know, I'm a really smart person. Why is it that I can't lose weight? But, you know, like, I'm going to find out. Like, and if I figure this out, like, of course I would share it with people. This is all I want to do. And when she said that in one of her podcasts, I was like, holy shit. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. I've struggled long enough, I think, with beating myself up to the point of depression, just treating myself kind of horribly in my head. Like the things that I say in my head are just disgusting, honestly. I mean, it's normal, okay, but it is pretty bad. I don't want to do that to myself anymore. And if I can figure this out, if I can figure out a way to like myself more, to not procrastinate, to create art that I really love, to feel empowered. The word empowered really grosses me out sometimes because I think it's such like woo-woo language. But anyway, if I can figure it out for myself, all I want to do is share it to other people and help other people do the same. That's seriously it's what I'm so passionate about in my head. I just have this theory that you can watch all the art tutorials you want. You can watch like all these amazing artist videos. You can go to seminars and all that stuff, and conventions, and like be inspired by other people's work. But if you don't really take a look at your mind, take a look at how you're thinking, which ultimately affects what you do, then I don't think you're gonna be the kind of artist that you want to be. At least not for me. That's how I feel. Like I feel like I've held myself back and kind of self-sabotaged for so long. Like I really think that if I knew how to handle my emotions better, or knew how to handle my head better, that I would be in a totally different place with my art right now. Yeah, it's 100% like self-sabotage, I think, that's keeping me back. Yeah. And so when she said that too, like, and I want to figure it out, like I want to figure it out and share it with other people. The first image that comes into my head is me as a teenager. Um, I just imagine, I just like get transported back to when I was a teenager, like 16, 17, and I'm younger even, like down to 13, whatever. And I transport back to those moments, and I imagine the kind of like feelings that I'm feeling at the time, the usual feelings that I feel. And most of it is just like suffering, like it's just worrying about what other people think, only just wishing I was okay, I guess, or just like wishing that I was wanted, feeling all the time like I wasn't enough. Just when I think about her, it just breaks my heart, and all I want to do is give her a hug. Like I just wish I could be there giving her a hug and just telling her like, you're okay. You're completely okay the way you are. You don't need to be anything. You don't need to chase anything to make yourself feel like that means now you're okay. I've never told this story, but I think it would be kind of appropriate. The thing that I remember the most, like when I think about myself as a teenager, the moment that I remember is me sitting in my room alone on a weekend, and knowing that all the other kids are out partying. It's the weekend, so all the other, my friends and stuff are out. And for some reason, this year, I just totally isolated myself. I just felt really like off. And so I was sitting alone in my room watching One Tree Hill. And there was one scene where, the group, like the group of friends, like it was a heartwarming scene, and then they were all laughing. Something funny happened, but pretty much it was kind of like how funny this group of friends are or something. And I was laughing because something funny happened in the show. And I transitioned really from like laughing to crying. Like I just started bawling. I just completely, like I turned it off and I was just crying. I was crying because I was thinking like, oh my God, what a loser. Like, you're in your house by yourself. Like, why? And you're laughing with these imaginary people. Like, that's what brings you to laugh. Like, this fake thing. And I was just really cruel to myself in my head. Even though I created the situation, I was the one that decided to just kind of isolate myself that year. And that was just so weird. It was so weird. I went from laughing to crying, and I was just like having this pity party, and all I can think about right now is like hugging her, and just telling her, chill, you're okay. And that's what I want to do. That's honestly what I want to do with people. That's what if I can figure this out, it just makes my heart soar thinking about if I can help other people not feel that way, and make them feel better. And that was specifically, I guess, about social stuff, but I think that's just so true for being an artist. Like, to like yourself as an artist, to like what you create, to create work thinking like, I'm gonna blow my mind. What other people think is their business, and what I want to do is impress myself. Like if I can help somebody think that way, that is just so incredible to me. Like there's the difference too between like taking criticism and improving your work versus like, making yourself sick worrying what people think. Yeah, so that's really like my mission and my passion right now. And so with that, like I said, I really want to help people, but it's only this year that I've really accepted personal development, right? Like accepted trying to learn from other people. I mean, guys, seriously, how cool is this? Like, I thought it was cool that on the internet you can, literally learn to do anything. You can learn to start a business without going to business school. You can learn to be an artist without going to art school. You can learn to do, and you can learn a language. You can and never visit the country. Like, I think that's fucking rad. But it just kind of blew my mind thinking like, oh my God, you can learn to change your mind. Like, you can learn to adopt somebody else's thinking to make your experience on this planet better. That is so crazy to me. Like, I've always just thought about like learning skills and learning like physical skills, right? You can learn to deal cards. I don't know, that just came out of nowhere. You can learn to fucking make furniture. You can learn to like plant a beautiful garden all online. But it's just crazy to me that you can also learn how to like change your freaking mind. You can learn to make things happen in your head psychologically. You can learn other people's mindset. Like, for a long time, we thought that like your mindset in your head, it's all fixed, right? Like it's just you were born with it and there's nothing you can do about it, or like you learn whatever you learn as a kid because that's when your brain is making the most development, and then past like 18, you're stuck, right? Like this is all you got, and like you just make do. Like if you're fucked, you're fucked, and then that was like what we thought for such a long time. But now there's so many new studies. There's a whole section of psychology now called positive psychology that just came out super recently, where people are actually studying like the good side of mental health. So yeah, like it is just, I think that's just so freaking awesome. Like I love the internet even more now because of that. But anyway, I'm starting to learn this. Oh, on top of that, oh my God, okay, I have 9 books on the way. That's in the mail right now. I'm hoping 5 of them will show up today. But yeah, like I'm so freaking excited. I'm just seeing things in such a different way, and like I said, all I want to do is share it. However, I'm just starting out. Like the first 2 videos I made, I'm still really happy that I made those because I think those 2 things are really important. It's pretty much like about what we think is what we create in our lives. And then the second one is like, if you don't like what you create, don't beat yourself up. I think those 2 things are like crazy, crazy important. And I think those 2 things I'm like really understanding. So I still feel good about those videos. But from here on, like, I'm a total beginner. So the point of this podcast style thing is that I really want to share what I'm up to, what I'm struggling with, because yes, like I think videos or books and stuff where somebody has mastered something and then they teach you how to do it so that that learning curve is shorter or less of a curve. I don't know, whatever. But like that learning curve is not as much of a curve. But I think it's just as valuable to watch somebody in the middle of it, you know, like as they go and as they're learning, so that you can also see what you struggle with, what they're struggling with. I was considering like a daily vlog where I talk about day to day, what I'm thinking of and what I'm practicing, that kind of stuff. But I don't think I'm ready for that. I think that's a little bit much for me. So right now, these podcasts, I think like hopefully once every week, once every 2 weeks, I don't know. I'm not going to put a schedule on it. I just know that it's going to be regular. I mean, my hope is that it's like, no, it will be regular. Okay. Like, that's not good language, by the way, is like really good. So one thing is like, you're supposed to not say try. You're supposed to say like, I can, or I will, you know, etc. Anyway, I mean, etc. Anyway, so yeah, these podcasts, what I would like, honesty, I'm going to try to be as honest as I possibly can. Like, honesty is something that I really struggle with because I'm afraid of telling the truth about and what I'm having problems with, because I don't want people to think something's wrong with me. So I've really struggled with that in the past. Like, honestly, like, not many of my closest friends even knew about all this stuff, like, I really kept this in for a really, really long time. Excuse me, burp. Which honestly I think is the result of why I feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect between me and other people. Is because I just keep this in because it's part of being a perfectionist, I guess. Like, a perfectionist isn't about striving for excellence. Perfectionist is about fear. It's about being afraid of anything that isn't perfect, because that will mean that you're imperfect, and that means, or imperfect in the sense that there's something wrong with you, and you don't want anyone to think. Nobody wants to think that something is wrong with them. So yeah, and so I didn't want to be honest, because that means I'm not perfect. Like, it means I'm doing something wrong. It means it means I'm lesser. I'm inferior. Yeah. So with that, I guess then, like, what I should be honest about is, and what I'm thinking about right now as I make this record this podcast, is I'm honestly feeling really uncomfortable about. I'm afraid of being inconsistent. I'm afraid that I'm gonna hit episode 3, and either I'll get shiny object syndrome and just do something again completely different, which there's nothing wrong with doing that in itself. What would be wrong is if I, like, do that for the reasons of that I'm just not doing it right, that I'm not perfect, so I don't want to keep. So instead of improving, I just don't want to keep showing that I'm failing, and I'll just, like, switch gears completely, thinking, like, that will make me okay. Yeah, so I don't want to do that, but I'm uncomfortable because in the past, it's what I've done. In the past, I think I've left this YouTube channel maybe like 3 times, or, on hiatus, just trying to, like, figure shit out. And I don't want to do that again, obviously. Like, I want to be consistent, and I want to be good at feeling the fear of failure or fear of things not being great and still do it anyway. So yeah, that feels pretty uncomfortable. However, a lot of the things that I've been learning is that, like, you really shouldn't be looking at the past to direct your future. Because if you're looking at your past and you're only looking at, like, evidence of who you are. So for example, if you've been inconsistent in the past, then you're saying, like, oh, well, I'm inconsistent, so I'm always going to be inconsistent. That's a very flawed way to make decisions or make any action, because your future hasn't happened, right? Your future is open to anything. And if you're looking to your past and looking at the way you thought in the past and you're adopting that now, then you're always going to recreate your past. So it's really important, from what I've learned, to not adopt the thinking of your past so that you just keep getting the same result. You have to believe that you're possible, that you're not fixed, that even though you've done things in the past, you are not that person. You can always be somebody new. So I'm trying to adopt that. I really want to stay consistent. And also because I think it's fun. This is really fun. Like, I really, 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 really enjoy talking about this stuff. A lot more, actually, than I enjoy talking about art, to be honest. I've always thought there was something kind of wrong with me, that I didn't really geek out over art that much. Like, yeah, I didn't talk about it. I didn't talk about my art business. I don't talk about the projects and how excited I am with them. I mean, of course I am excited, but the thing that I've always like really geek out over is the mind. Anything to do with psychology, anything to do with the mind, and and the reasons why we do what we do. I'm so fascinated why humans do what they do. It's like a puzzle. It's so interesting. Um, so yeah, I was thinking that if I didn't do art, I would probably go into psychology. Like I would have gotten a psychology degree or something. Um, but because I was having so much like issues in my head, overthinking, overanalyzing, all that kind of stuff, I kind of felt like maybe if I ever did psychology, I was afraid that like I would just like self-diagnose so much and just overanalyze myself even further, and it would be really bad. So I was I was feeling kind of glad that I didn't go that route personally, at least not until I've had a better understanding. And I'm also really, really thankful that I went down the art route, and I do love it. And I said I don't geek out over it. However, I love art and I love creation in general because it's revealing to me how my brain works. It's revealing to me like that I'm a perfectionist. You know, it's revealing that I really struggle with what people think, and which is why I get scared to post, or I get scared to create stuff, because I'm thinking that the next artwork has to be better than the last. Yeah, and so that's really cool. So if it, and it doesn't have to be art. It can be literally anything. It's like writing a story, playing music, improving your basketball game. Like all of that is creation, right? All of that is pushing your limits, and it reveals so much about what you're thinking, how you feel, what kind of actions that you take. It's like a magnifying glass. It's like a magnifying glass into your brain, and it tells you, what's going on in there. So I think that's a really cool, beautiful thing about art, and any type of creation. So yeah, essentially, that is why I'm doing this podcast. I'll just make a summary really quickly, that I'm on a mission, and I'm very passionate about personal development and helping other people, have less anxiety, or deal with anxiety better, be more productive, be more passionate about their work, love themselves. And also, just to be clear, it's not so that you become a better person so that you can be better than other people. Okay? Like, everyone is equal. Seriously, we can talk about this more later. I think that sounds a little woo-woo, but like, you being a better person does not make you a better person than somebody else. The reason, then you'd think like, why would I even try to be a better person? Well, the main reason, and especially for me, it's so that you have a better experience while you're here as a human on this planet. It's so that your day-to-day experience is better. It's so that you enjoy your time here so much better. Because if you spend your time procrastinating, judging other people, hating people, etc., you're not really having a good time. At least I don't think so. Like, I don't think your time here on Earth is that fun, Like, it's just filled with pain. It really is. It's filled with pain, and I do not want to live in pain anymore. I don't. I want to be done with that. I'm totally accepting and so ready to learn how to not live in pain, and how to not make myself suffer unnecessarily. Because all of this, all of this suffering in my head, it's all self-inflicted. And I just didn't know how to not. And all this stuff about like, accept yourself, just do it, love yourself, like those one-liner or vague advice just never helped me. In fact, it just made me more jaded and more annoyed. Okay, that wasn't quite a summary, but anyway, I want to share like my weekly progress, I guess, or like my regular progress of what I'm working on, what I'm learning, so that you can see, and maybe it might help you. Oh, and the reason I got inspired to do this is because I watched the daily vlogs of this one YouTuber and blogger. Her name is Sam Brown, and she runs a blog and YouTube called Smart 20s. And she's pretty much talking about what I really love, like affirmations, law of attraction, personal development, all that kind of stuff. And she has a daily vlog where she just talks about the kind of like things that she's working on in her head, and like what kind of her goals. Yeah. And from just watching her vlogs, I found it so useful. Because, yeah, she wasn't teaching you anything. She was kind of just like explaining her thought process, what she's working on, what she struggles with. And it was incredibly, incredibly helpful to me. So, and I thought I was in a unique spot because I feel like I'm just starting, right? I'm completely starting from zero, essentially, to me. I haven't read a single book yet. I mean, I've read books in the past, but again, that was just kind of like one year at the other. But now I'm going to read books in a totally different way. And all I want to do is just share it. And I hope that it can help you guys, right? Like, share in the struggle, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so this was an introductory episode. After this, it will be a lot more like, actually what my day-to-day or what kind of stuff I've worked on, or what I'm doing to help myself, what I'm learning from books. But I'll quickly just go over like what I've been working on. So this past week, a little longer, but this past week I've been really consistent. Every day I go on a 30-minute jog. My boyfriend and I got really lucky, and we got an indoor treadmill from a friend, totally free. And so I've been able to watch TV while I run, which is seriously godsend. Like, I really hated running outside in the hot sun, and like listening to podcasts just wasn't enough. Like, I wasn't finding the right pace. I don't know. It was just not a good time. I just didn't really have the mental strength yet to like fight the pain of that. So baby steps. And so we have this indoor treadmill, and watching TV, I totally forget that I'm running while I do it. And then I get off and I feel awesome. So 30-minute jog in the morning. I'm going to try and increment it like 1 minute every day until I can get to like an hour, and then do a 1 hour jog eventually. So that's what I'm thinking. Anyway, so I do 30-minute jog, and then eat breakfast, shower, and then I do a thought download. And a thought download is the same thing as like a stream of consciousness writing, if you've ever heard of that. It's where you pretty much dump whatever you're thinking about on a page for however long. I try to reach 750 words. I do it online, like I don't do it on paper because my thoughts come at me pretty quickly, and I usually find that like my hands and my writing isn't quick enough, so I like typing it out. I'm much faster at typing. So I do a stream of consciousness writing. I kind of pick a topic. It's not just out of nowhere. I kind of pick a topic like of what I've been thinking about or something. So I'll ask like, what do I think about this? Or how do I feel about this? And then I just write for 750 words, less or more, about that. And then I do a model. Okay, so I'll explain this more in the future because this has to do a lot with Brooke Castillo's work and the Life Coach School podcast. I'll explain to you more about this, but I do 2 models, okay? And what a model essentially is you figure out what your thought is, which causes your feeling and what that feeling is, and then what kind of actions do you take because of that feeling, and what kind of results do you have. So you do those. And then, and again, later I'll explain more, I think, like why these are really important. I just feel like this episode might be getting long, although personally I really, really love long episodes of stuff. I love hearing long podcast episodes, long video episodes. I love in-depth stuff. Like I told you guys, I hate vague, unuseful, like jargon, I guess. Like I really love it when people go in-depth into something. So, so I do 2 models, and then after that, I do my affirmations. And what I do is I write 15 times. Actually, I don't know if it's 15, but I just know that I fill a page front and back. I fill 1 page front and back, a small page of this affirmation, and I just rewrite it 15 times over and over again. And then after that, I do 1 hour of personal work. So this I'm doing during my 1 hour of personal work, where I get to work on an artwork and a video just 1 hour every day. And then that's when I start doing my freelance paid artwork. And then I end. I'm still, this is one of the things I'm struggling right now. I still really struggle with my schedule with freelance. Before this video, I was working some ridiculous hours, like it was just so varied, but most of the time starting really early and then ending either between 7 or 2 a.m. Like between 7 p.m. and 2 a.m. And yeah, just super, like, I just got really stressed out with that kind of work. And then, yeah, so that's one of the things I'm going to work on, is like being really clear with my time and productivity and all that stuff. Okay, so I think that's generally it. So yeah, I run, get ready, do a thought download, I do models, affirmations, and 1 hour personal work. And to some people that might sound like a lot, right? Like I wake up at 6 a.m. I don't start like paid work until like 10:30. Between 10:30 or 11. Sometimes like I don't do it after lunch because like I'm doing all this stuff in the morning. And some people might say that's a lot, right? Like, holy shit, that's like 2 to 3 hours of care, self-care, really. Like that's including the run, breakfast, and shower and stuff. And here's the thing that I've recently really started to understand and accept. Your mental health is so important. Like, if people are willing to pay, what is it usually, like $25 a month or more for a gym membership, like $50 a month, and then they spend hours at the gym for their physical health, you need to put the same time into your mental health if you want to see any change, or if you want to see any improvement, right? Or if you want to make things actually have an impact. Because I've realized, and why I've really accepted personal development this year, is because in the past, when I read self-help books, they were really helpful, again, at the time, but they didn't help me afterwards. And it's not the book's fault. And it's not anything's fault but mine. My issue was that I was kind of just reading it passively, and then afterwards I did nothing different. I didn't like, books don't usually like give you exercises. Sometimes they do, but like sometimes what you just need to do is apply it. So you need to like really study a book. I'll talk in the future more about how I'm going to be really studying a book. It's going to be different than just reading a book. It's like really studying it and then understanding and figuring out how to apply it to my life and make changes in my life, kind of thing, afterwards. Because knowledge in itself, when you read a book, knowledge in itself doesn't change you. It's application. So it's the same thing with art. Like watching a tutorial, the knowledge itself on how to draw a hand is not useful. It's you drawing a hand 10 times a day, 100 times, until you get really good at drawing a hand is when you get good at drawing a hand. So if you want to get good at thinking thoughts that you're not currently thinking, you got to practice it, you know? So that was really cool. So that's another thing why I'm so excited about this stuff now, because I was missing a link. My link that I was missing was that knowledge isn't enough. You actually have to like take action at applying all this knowledge into your life. So that's the things that I'm working on. And yeah, it does sound like a long time, but it's so worth it. It's important. Your physical health is important, so is your mental health. And then another thing that I did that I'm so excited about is I hired a life coach. We meet and have a call once a week, and we kind of like just we talk about what I'm struggling with, things like that, and she kind of just helps me take a look at my mind. It's having a third party who's trained to really study what you're thinking and like help you see what you're thinking is resulting. So yeah, that's been incredible. I've had a total of maybe 4 calls with her. The first 2 were free, because she gives like a free mini coaching call. Like most coaches will do that. They'll give you a free mini session where you can talk about what you're currently working on, and then you can kind of just get a feel of what a coach does. So it was supposed to be 30 minutes, but she talked to me 2 hours in total for free, which is so amazing. And then we've had I think we've had 2 calls so far that are, yeah, we've had 3 calls that I've already like paid for, kind of thing. And oh man, it's been so awesome. It's been really, really, really cool. It's just so nice to have, like, it's literally like having a coach, right? Like if you're if you're learning to be an amazing basketball player and you're practicing, there's something also amazing though about when you have a coach and you spend 1 hour at least, right? You spend an hour where he's looking at you from a third perspective, another perspective away, and he's looking at you do your techniques, do your dribbles, do your runs, do your shoots, and he can see from a different perspective how to help you improve. And you improve in just like, your speed of improving is just so different, right? Like having somebody else kind of help you and see things. Yeah. So now I have a life coach, which I'm so excited about. I'm so happy. I'm so happy about this purchase. Like I do not regret this purchase one bit. It's so well worth it. I'm really happy about it. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much everything. The podcast episodes like this are going to be quite chatty, like I have been so far. Like it's not going to be super structured. It's just like, what I want is for it to feel like you and I have met up for lunch and we're kind of just talking and we're just chatting, and I'm just telling you what I'm up to and what I'm working on, and maybe it can help you. Eventually, as I start to master some things, or even if I have breakthroughs, like some thought breakthroughs, and I figure something out, then that's when I think is appropriate for me to actually make like a teaching video, right? And yeah, I still want this to relate to art in some way, but personal development is where I'm at right now. Like I really, really love that stuff, and but I will, of course, always continue with art. It's my first love, and I will always share that stuff and talk about like how to be a better artist, really. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for listening to this. If you listened all the way until the end, then holy shit, you are my people. Like seriously. I love long episodes, especially when it's about topics that I'm really interested in, and topics where I feel like the person who's talking really understands what I'm saying or how I'm feeling and thinking. So I would really love it, honestly, like if you listen to the end, like write in the comments, please, like that you're my people. Like that you are in this club too. I'm like, yeah, just say like I'm your person or something. I don't know, just make it clear that you read until the end or you heard this until the end, because I feel that way about a lot of the creators that I follow, where I will listen to everything because I'm just like, preach, oh my God, you are speaking my language. And I would really love to get to know you if you did stay all the way until the end. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. I really hope that this journey will help you in yours as well. I'm so freaking excited about it. I'm so passionate about it, and I hope you are too. So I'll see you guys in another episode soon. Bye.